Hello, everyone. So, today we have Jax Gratton's mom, Cheri. We're here to talk about the fact that there's now been an indictment in Jax's case. For those of you who are new to the channel or are not familiar with this case, we did have Cheri on before where we talked about the case before all this happened. It was just after she was found. It was around about a year ago. What I'll do is I'll link the that live in the description for you if you want to go back and have a look into that. And there is also a Facebook group if you guys want to join that for quicker updates than what I'll give you. Uh, I'll also link that as well. Hello, Cheri.
Good morning. It's
Uh,
almost 5 here, 5
yeah.
a.m.
So
So it's still
before I clicked record, um, you asked if I can edit things and that. I I mean I've never done it, but there is an edit button right there. So if we have any mishaps or anything, I can quickly
okay.
pause, get a timestamp, and
Well, like I can't mention the second guy. I can't mention his name.
okay,
So
yeah. Well, if anything like
hopefully,
that happens, just say pause. I'll quickly press the pause button, and then I'll go back and
okay.
we'll edit that out. Okay. So since we last spoken, because when we last spoken, there seemed like there was no hope whatsoever. If you remember, your advocate group in Denver, because you're not actually from Denver, are you?
I'm
Um,
not.
yeah, so they were advocating, they were going to town hall meetings for you, they were protesting outside uh, buildings, I'm guessing was law enforcement and things like that. And now we have not the indictment that you want, but we have an indictment nonetheless. Do you want to just quickly talk about that indictment, just so the audience at home who don't know?
Definitely. So the indictment, the two charges are tampering or let's see, something with a dead body, and that is a class 3 felony. And the other one is destroying evidence, and that's a class 6 felony. None of it carries the time that I had hoped for. Um, and my huge thing, I'm just so happy that he is in jail right now as we speak, so he can do no harm to anyone else. A lot of people don't know that he has charges in a different state. Um, the man causes harm wherever he goes, continues to be arrested, continues to resist arrest, continues to, I would think, sell drugs, um, just because he's always caught with drugs, so on and so forth. Um, so I'm pleased, but I'm still saddened because everything mentioned in the deposition um, came, everything was done by the Denver police. All the charges could have been brought after the autopsy came back in August. So I really question why they waited this long. Um, I hate that they waited this long. I think they carried it out. I do know the police sent it to the DA in October, and now it's March. And Randa Mama continued to cause harm and be arrested and commit crimes. I didn't find out he was back in Colorado facing charges he had in Clear Creek and Summit County. So I don't understand um, how he gets away with so much. Um, and it disheartens me that other people were harmed by him, because nothing was brought sooner. But I always believed in the judicial system in the United States, but now I have to question that also. Just like I believed in police. Um, and now I have to question that. Um, so that part's pretty scary, but I am so pleased that he is sitting in a jail cell.
Yeah. I just wanted to touch on because I think it's important actually, because it's actually just been going through my head. I remember you sending me clips of the town hall meetings and things like
Hmm.
that. Just look at this and how I don't know what his involvement was, but in the investigation, but the officer that was speaking was purposefully misgendering Jax and like using slurs and things like that. So it's been like it hasn't just been, oh, there's a lack of evidence. It does seem to, point towards like there was a lot of like, oh, do we really want to push this case? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
Um,
and
I feel the same way. In the town hall meetings, I don't know if everybody saw, but our very last one where city council was, my goal is to have independent oversight of the Lakewood police, meaning that no police officers would serve on that, and educating the Lakewood police on transgender women, the slurs, the verbiage that is used within the community, because obviously Brandon Mama is a chaser, meaning searching out just to have sex with transgender women. Um, so the very last one, over 40 officers showed up in full gear with their guns, their radios, uniform, and that was disgusting. That was a gross show of trying to prove that they're so right. Um, but they're not right. They're wrong. And you don't, it was just gross. And I had been in communication with the chief of police, and I think my last email from him was like at 3:15, 3:30 in the afternoon. And then by 6 o'clock, they had gathered all these police officers. I don't know if they were on duty. A lot of them had their radios, their side holster guns, their protection. Um, and I had no idea that that was going to happen. So a lot of the people from Jack's community, transgender people, were afraid. Um, and it was gross. It was absolutely gross. They did, city council did set up for an independent oversight, but come to find out, the reason I was speaking with the chief of police was that the city manager earlier in the day had sent to city council and posted on their website, um, what how she didn't agree with what was going on, and she had changed the name of the independent oversight, and then she mentioned key factors in Jack's case. So I wanted to know where she got that information. So I was asking the chief of police. Well, come to find out, the chief of they have, I don't know exactly, I'd have to go back in my emails of who wrote that piece. It was supposed to be coming from the city manager and city council. The police wrote the statement. The police shared that a search warrant was served on the 29th of May, and her body was found the 6th of June. But they wanted to state that Denver police served the search warrant inside the apartment or the office, and Lakewood police were there just for backup and to be outside. Well, if you're serving a search warrant, why in the heck did no one look over the fence or do anything about the outside perimeter? And look for Jack's body, knowing that Mama was the last person to see her. And he had already told his story about Jack's disappearance. That
Can we just stop there a second? Because
Sure.
that's actually a key point. So we were just talking before the live stream about that. Now his story was something along the lines of, without getting the paperwork, and and we're not quoting him, but it was something along the lines of, she overdosed and they left her.
Yeah.
So this isn't
I
this
can
isn't
tell you exactly what Lakewood police told me, that it was not a hate crime. The person was a person of her community. And that what happened is that Brandon Mama, they have proof that her and Brandon Mama entered the office, that Jax willingly took GHB and had consensual sex. And then another, number two, entered or showed up at the office, came in. His statement is that when he entered the office, Jax was passed out, snoring really loudly. I don't know the time frame. This is just what the police told me, and that Jax started throwing up, and then Jax started screaming at them to get out. So that's why they left. But they made sure and turned her on her side before they left, which is an
what,
odd
what's key.
story.
What's key to that is because they believed she was overdosing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, what's key to me to that is if she's screaming for you to leave, you're going to approach her and turn her on her side, and she was
yeah,
conscious enough to
yeah.
yell to you to
What I
go
mean,
outside.
what I mean by keys, to highlight my point of, they should have charged at least him, or maybe both of them, with reckless homicide
Yeah, that would have been
from
nice.
that statement.
Yeah. And Colorado has a law that people can report overdoses without getting in trouble.
Yeah,
So all it would have taken was either one of them to pick up the phone, um, and call emergency. They don't have to implicate themselves. Um,
it seems,
I don't think
that's
she was dead at the
a new
time.
thing. I believe it's spreading across the US. I think they're trying to do that here as well, and it's to encourage people. If you see someone overdosing, even if you're high or got paraphernalia on you, you're not going to be charged. Contact the authorities and get that person help.
Mhm.
But we don't believe that's the scenario anyway, do we?
I do not. I do not. Um, and I'll continue with the story. So they left, and then hours later, Brandon Mama comes back, and Jax is gone, which makes no sense to me because now he's stating about this long-term relationship. In court, he said that Jax said she loved him. The crazy thing is, Jax told everybody she loved him. She would give a homeless person $5 and say, "I love you." So that point is mute. But then he goes 52 days without reporting him, or reporting Monroe or Jax missing. Um, so that's the story that was put to me. And of course, I had tons of rebuttal when they told me that. So I asked, what community was this person from? And they said, well, we know they had sex. So I'm thinking that she was in this office, she willingly took GHB, and they had sex. That's
Yeah.
not what happened. That's not what they have evidence of. So we have pictures of Joe Roll in the house at 11 a.m. Jax is all decked out, hair done, makeup on, looks beautiful. She's escorting Mama out the door. Well, they have film from 5 o'clock in the afternoon inside Jack's apartment. Brandon Mama came back, they had sex, and Brandon Mama filmed it. So he filmed the sex act. I do not know if Jax gave consent, if Jax knew she was being recorded. The police do, so that's great. But that's what they have evidence of doing GHB and having consensual sex. Now, fast forward to 10 o'clock at night. Well, we have photos of Jax. Jack's hair is tied up. Jax has this big ugly coat on, her pants, her glasses. She doesn't look very pretty, not like she's going on a date. And it looks to me like she's going to do hair. The front bag is from a beauty supply place. The back bag looks like there's a cape that she would use to cape someone. So now, fast forward, what was she going to do? She told her roommate she would be gone 3 hours. This other person, Brandon Mama's head, it looked like it was shaved. He was wearing a baseball cap. But this other person has rainbow colors in their hair, so on and so forth. So 3 hours would be a perfect time for Jax to cut, color, and dye someone's hair. That would be 3 hours. The police, of course, they don't believe that. And they have the proof. But it sure would have been nice if they put it to me, if they put the truth and not the made up story. The same thing about her overdosing. I think they came at me and said that she was a heavy narcotics user. She was not. She did not shoot needles. She did not put needles in her arm. Her hormones she took orally, which would have been a lot easier to take, but she couldn't give herself the shot. She hated needles. And then they had mentioned heroin. No history of heroin use, and heroin is not a drug that's used anymore. I don't know quite why, but when I asked questions, they said, really, Denver doesn't have a huge heroin usage. So that's how it came to me. And when you look at her injuries, I think they were trying to state with the throwing up, the broken hyoid. I think something happened, and she did not die in that alley. The police, Brandon Mama, and the second person knows exactly where she died, but she did not die in the alley. She, I'm sure, died in this person's office,
Yeah.
and left her. And even if everything can be proven true, even if that's what happened, both men did not pick up a phone. Both men. And they didn't pick up the phone the night it happened. They didn't pick up the phone the second day, the third day, the fourth day, the fifth day. And it went on and on and on. And the second member, Brandon Mama, was not part of her community. yes, he had sex with her, but he was not, didn't carry himself in his other life as a gay man. The other person did, um, was out in the community many times, danced for people, um, and had those many days that they didn't report it. It took Denver police to go through and verify who it was, so on and so forth. And the crazy thing, so Lakewood has always came to me that everything ends up on the internet. I never repeated. Denver police, when they gave me information, would say, this cannot be shared. I wouldn't share it. So Denver police, I knew about the ping on Jack's phone um, almost exactly the same time as Detective Benet. And I could not tell anybody because they told me not to tell anybody. I knew of the dump on the phone. I knew when they ID'd Brandon Mama. They never told me, but they said, we've ID'd this guy. We know who he is. We need him to make contact before we arrest them. And that didn't make any sense. But for some reason, a week after that or something, he makes contact. My detective is off. Somebody else does the interview. And as soon as they're interviewing on something else, and as soon as they bring up Jax Gratton, he gets a lawyer. So, of course, now
Yeah.
we've entered the legal system. But I don't understand if
Carry
Denver
on.
police.
I've got here, just in case anybody doesn't know, GHB is a powerful central nervous system depressant that acts as a sedative, known for its euphoric, euphoric effects, small doses, but high potential of for coma and death in a slightly higher doses. Often sold as a clear, odorless liquid with a slightly salty taste. It is notorious as a party drug, also a date rape drug, due to its ability to cause amnesia and its history of being used in to incapacitate people. And it's got common names: G, Gina, Liquid E, Liquid Ecstasy, Liquid X, Georgia Homeboy, Grieveless Bodily Harm, Scoop, 1,4-BD, and GLB. That's just for anyone who didn't know, because we was talking about it earlier. Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
Another fun fact is a decomposing body automatically makes GHB. When your body's decomposing, it's a natural thing that happens. Your body produces its own GHB. Is that crazy? So of course, I'm sure these guys didn't know this, or but using that drug. Now, Jax did test positive for drugs, marijuana, um, methamphetamine, and something else. I think that had to do with, but methamphetamine in a decomposed body, Jax took Adderall every single day. And I think at the time, um, took it morning and night, twice a day. I think I have also read, and I'm not saying this is true, but I think it can show a false positive for the methamphetamine that they say. And they don't call it methamphetamine, it's another drug.
Yeah, but
Um,
see, I work on construction, and we get drug tested quite regularly, and we get
mhm.
given a list. If we're called up, say we'll get told on, I think it's like usually Tuesday or Thursday. They don't tell you, like they don't give you a week because you can get whatever out your system. But they tell you on like the Tuesday or Thursday, and they give you a list of things not to take. So like medication wise and things like
Hmm.
that. If it's something like you need to take the medication, you have to make sure you highlight it and let them know in the when you go in for the test. But even things like
Hmm.
poppy seeds on bread, that can
Yeah.
come up as heroin. People think, oh no, you've got to
Yeah.
eat 4 pounds of poppy seeds. It's not true.
Yeah. Well, and I have to, this has to go with the coroner. Jax had a pelvic kidney, which she was born with a pelvic kidney. So through the years, uh, her function of her kidneys were not that good. I wish that they would have perhaps tested her hair, of past use, so on and so forth, because that stays in your body. My main concern is, um, Lakewood police just automatically assumed that it was a drug overdose, even with Brandon Mama's story. Well, with Brandon Mama's story and the second person backing it up. Um, so when the drug test came out, um, I think they were just as shocked. And I think the coroner had gone along. Detective Fike states in a recorded, with my advocate, that he has talked to the coroner. Coroner hadn't talked to me, the person who actually did the exam. Um, and so the day before the coroner's report is released, Detective Fike calls and gives up the two men. Doesn't say their names, but gives up everything that has happened and this is what's going on, and says, we believe that Jax either fell, jumped, or was pushed out that window, and that's what caused her harm. And it was really telling that the coroner, um, stated a lot of things exactly what Detective Fike had said. Um, and now they were done with Jack's body on the 8th of June, 8th of June. And I have this from the head coroner. They did not go into Jack's body again after the 8th. They let her sit there. Oh goodness. Sorry, I'm having a phone call come in. I'm deleting it. Okay. Um, oh, there you go. I'm sorry, I had a phone call come in at 5 o'clock in the morning. Um, so I gotta think. So why in the world are they going along with evidence and stuff that the police are telling them? The other thing is there was, a dented metal tube in that alley that now it's been up for debate that she probably hit it with her neck going out the window. Um, but they never took the metal thing out of out, out of the alley. So if you're
It was never
telling
taken.
me that her injuries came from that metal thing, you take that, you take it back to the police station, you take it apart, you see if there's any evidence of Jax on that container. It still is sitting in that same spot between the two buildings. It's still sitting there. And people have shown me, they've sent me pictures and they said, I think I know that her body hit that. Okay, but I don't think she was alive. So the whole point
Yeah.
is the fall didn't kill her. The other thing is, did they place her or did they push her out the window? Because there's no evidence on Jax, and they state this in the deposition. There is no evidence of Jax in the window frame, on the window, no fingerprints, nothing, because they took the whole window frame. So people say, well, Brandon Mama cleaned the window. Okay, cleaned the window inside and out. Um, it makes no sense. Granted, he might have thrown her out of the window after she was dead. Um, but why even say that before you have the evidence, she was pushed, jumped, or fell out the window? And if anybody, whoever put her out that window, that was a hard ask, because it's a small side window. It's not a big window. Um, and the other thing, I had to fight every single time. Jax did not shoot heroin. Um, Jax did not jump out the window. Um, and it makes no sense that usually investigators go on evidence. You don't just state stuff from the community. Um, there's a Mallory Hotel that's in Denver, Colorado. So Lakewood police, when they announced Jax, they found her body. They put that address, Mallory Hotel. To this day, I get people telling me that they have information of when Jax Gratton was at the Mallory Hotel. And that pisses me off, because they don't call Lakewood, because Lakewood would not, after they announce it. And I'm saying, I'm getting all these tips from this Mallory Hotel. They don't care. They're not going to take them. Who has to take them? I have to take them. I shouldn't have to take them. I
Yeah,
know now that when they come at me about the Mallory Hotel, my response is, Jax was never at the hotel. Whatever you're saying is not true. Brandon Mama picked her up at 10 o'clock. Her last ping was 10:22, took her back to the office, and she was dead by morning. I don't know the time, but I know that she was dead by morning. So please don't say anything to me about the Mallory Hotel, because she was never
yeah.
there. Um, and it just makes me sick, of all of this. So I'm sorry, I probably spoke too
No,
much,
you're
but
okay.
that is their story. And it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense that, and either the detectives told me it wrong. Now I have, um, of course, they've recorded all these conversations they've had with me, but I also had my advocate on the phone that takes really good notes. And I've gone over, I asked, can you pull up the date when, um, the captain tunnel tun, tun, Turnball argued with me about it being an alley, because it's not an alley, because you can't get through. Um, can you pull up that date and time and read back what was said? Um, so we have the notes of them telling us that in that conversation. Um, so I just wish that law enforcement, um, didn't lie. And I wish that they would have taken care in telling me that story. Um, I wish I was always promised that the coroner would go over the autopsy, and that was not the case. They were just proud that they finally released her body. And I was supposed to be so excited. But when the head coroner, Annette Cannon, called, said, okay, we've got the copy of and I said, well, are you going to go through this with me? I was at the lake on my job with an 87-year-old woman, and that was the only person I had. She said, no, what we want you to do is read it, go through it, take questions, or write down your questions and send them to us in an email. And I said, but this other woman had promised that you would go through it. They told me the steps, and this isn't the steps. I'm not going to get this blank, coroner's report. And she said, nope, that's what we do. That's how we do it, so on and so forth. So I am by myself with my client who I take care of, and I have to read the autopsy. I have to read the decomposition of my daughter's body. And that was, oh, sorry, that was, it was horrifying. I have, I have educated myself on certain things like, um, the rate of decomposition, so on and so forth, and what a person should look like. I was prepared for the worst, but it was far more horrific than what I had planned on. And I think um, it was horrifying. And then, of course, she releases it to myself and my ex-husband. And then, of course, there's so many media outlets that requested it. It was probably not even 2 hours later, press start calling, people wanting interviews. Because of course they
I think
released it to the media and to whoever else had asked. So I was bombarded by questions. And I tried to get a hold of Detective Fike right away, who is now no phone calls. The first Detective Stahl, I could call. So the only way I can reach him is through email. So I email him, and now it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Of course, I don't hear of it. I don't hear him. He's not at work. And I finally get a hold of him and ask questions. And he said he's never read it. This is 3 or 4 days after the autopsy. Oh, I haven't, I'm so busy, I haven't had time to read the autopsy. Oh my gosh, if you're a detective on a case, isn't that kind of like the most important thing that you read? And I told him, I said, it's really funny because when you were driving to the airport and you called and you said, it's very important, I wanted to update you with this evidence, and you talk about the second man who I fingered in July and asked the police, is this person involved? And they said, no, absolutely not. I knew the one person. I knew Brandon Mama. I had pictures of him, but I said from the beginning, I felt that it was more than one person. Um, and, and I knew who this person was. Let's see, the first part of July, I guess it was. And they told me no. They told me absolutely not involved at all. And so that was crazy. Let me get back to the autopsy. But his narrative was what the coroner actually wrote in like the last paragraph of the autopsy, which I thought was extremely bizarre. And and it just kind of it's almost like the coroner wrote the autopsy off of the two gentlemen's story of what took place inside the office. I would like to know why they didn't do a drop test out that window and see if Jack's body would have landed there, if it would have hit the air conditioner unit thing and went there. And also the coroner, when I talked to him, I understood. They told me a grate. So I'm thinking a metal grate that drains water, that Jack's body was on an air conditioning grate, right? Or they didn't say air conditioning, on a grate. So I'm thinking it's where there's a grate in the road where water can run. It was a little tiny 3x5 plastic part from an air conditioner, a little tiny grate that way. That's what was on her body. Because I was thinking, well, her phone might have fallen into the sewage area because all that water, maybe we have the chance to find her phone. But how they put it to me, I was like, wasn't anything like what actually took place. But I just hope for a successful charge, and I'm not pleased with the $100,000 cash bond. Um, Mama has proven time and time again he has no problem coming up with money. And now I think he's just seeing his anger in court and trying to state, I didn't do what you think I did. That's his famous line, um, which is crazy to say in court. And what do you think? What do you think we think you did? I mean, um, I
Yeah.
think you're a horrible man. Um, I think you trying to state that my daughter said, I love you the night before does not make any of your actions okay. It makes you tell us what you think we think you did, because I think there's a lot more, you know, um, I just wish that the bond was higher. I wish that he would be held in jail. My own brother, who is a lawyer, stated to me this weekend that now it hasn't been a part of this case, so doesn't know any of the ins and outs, told me that Jax was somewhere with someone doing something that she shouldn't have been doing. Okay, great. But is that a death sentence? Is that supposed to be a death sentence? It's not supposed to be a death sentence. If everything they say is true and the sequence of events are true, that should not put you to death. You should not die over that fact. Um, and when did she die, Mr. Mama? Did you sit there and watch her take her last breath? Or you showed up after you abandoned her and she was already dead? You abandoned my daughter in a state that all you would have had to do was dial a phone. Emergency medical could have been there right away. And you abandoned her. You let her sit there and die alone in someone else's place. And if we go along with that story, which everybody can make their own conclusion, great, that is horrible. That is unconscionable, and you need to be punished. And if you say drugs, who gave her the drugs? If you say that she died of a shot of methamphetamine, who gave her that shot? Because I know she didn't give herself the shot. She couldn't give herself drugs. There's no way. So that had to be Mr. Mama shot a needle in her arm and gave her whatever drugs that killed her. But the main thing is, you didn't call anybody. You didn't call anybody. You could have called and left and said, oh my gosh, this horrible drug addict person broke into my office, and look at this, she's having a drug overdose. And you know what? They would have treated her. She might still be here to this day. But you didn't.
Yeah.
And then you have to let it go for 52 days, which is gross. Did they place her body in the alley after the 911 call, or after the search warrant? Did they place her in there? Did she decompose someplace else? Or did he know, working and living in that office, that Jack's body was down below the whole entire time? I mean, that's gross.
So,
That is sick.
just to highlight what a despicable person he is, without even bringing up his lengthy criminal record and the gross things that I found on him just by googling him. So he actually had two hearings, didn't he? Because he couldn't behave in the one.
Yeah.
So he went to a hearing. I got my moderator to navigate the site for
Um,
me because I couldn't
let me
navigate it.
interrupt you one quick
And
second. He had two hearings
go on.
because he wanted a court-appointed attorney, and they have an attorney pool. And the attorney that was appointed to him had to recuse themselves because they either knew Jax or they participated in searching for Jax or something along that lines. They recused themselves. I don't know exactly why they recused themselves, but it had to do with they had a conflict of interest. Um, so he was going to have two hearings anyway. He just chose to be a bad actor in the
Oh,
first one
yeah,
and
okay.
cause harm. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
In
that
in
first one
the
was
first
supposed to be.
hearing,
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I won't
no,
interrupt
go on.
anymore.
Oh, go on. You're all right. It's your daughter's story, so don't worry about it. So in the first hearing, it happened that quick that I didn't manage to grab into it in time. But my moderator told me that he just started screaming, shouting things out. Um, and I saw on the Facebook group as well, someone had written pretty much the same thing, but they highlighted that he was staring them out. I believe that might have been your advocate, or your advocate was with them, and he was
Hmm.
staring them, constantly staring them out. And 10 deputies had to come in from all around the courthouse to pull him out and take him to a room. And the judge had constantly warned him throughout, don't incriminate yourself, um, stop talking, and things like that. And then the second hearing, I was waiting for it, and then you told me it had already happened. So, do you want to tell us what happened at the second hearing, just so
Um,
everybody's up to date with?
yeah, the second hearing, um, Brandon Mama was appointed a lawyer at like 0 hour. I don't know when that lawyer got the case. The lawyer, came from a pool. I see the lawyer first, and then I see the lawyer leave, and I guess Mama was out. He talked to Mama. Mama was not pleased. Inside the courtroom, they said they could hear Mama like talking loudly. I don't know. That's just hearsay. So I don't want to be held responsible for that. And then they came in.
Yeah.
And the judge, of course, this is crazy. His lawyer argued that it should only be a $25,000 bond. That Brandon Mama was a vet and that suffered from PTSD and all these reasons that they should lower the bail, um, which is crazy because the first hearing, the first words out of Brandon Mama's mouth was, "I'm a vet. I'm a vet. I'm a vet." Ugh. Um,
Well, my response to that would be, thank you for your service. You're here to answer these charges, regardless of who you are. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. You could be the King of England. If you got to face these charges, do you know what I mean? You got to face these charges, regardless of
well,
your pasties.
yeah. Well, my oldest son is a vet. My oldest son's hand got smashed. My oldest son became addicted to prescription drugs in the military. My son um, is has had drug and alcohol challenges, always went through the veterans courts. They have been very kind to him. But not once did Nick sit there and excuse his behavior for being a vet, or use the excuse that the Army overprescribed prescription drugs and he became addicted. Also, Jack's uncle, Terry, served in Vietnam from 66 to 70, has one Purple Heart. They wrote books. They have a book about his battalion. He was just a grunt, suffered from PTSD his whole entire life, or after Vietnam, has been on total disability. And you know what? His statement is, I would have picked up the phone. I would have reported.
Yeah.
So here's a gentleman that served in Vietnam, which is totally different war. I also have cousins that are in that were in retired Air Force. So with him using the military as an excuse, and now that I've talked to people from Pennsylvania and women from Pennsylvania that he's harmed, he's been using this excuse for 15 years. For 15 years, at least, if not more. I mean, that's how far I go back, that he has used his military service as a weapon towards the judicial system. So that didn't fly with me. But then we'll go to the second hearing. So his lawyer argues why it needs to be reduced to merely pennies for not picking up a phone. My lawyer gets up and states, he's out on this bond. He's lists all of his charges, and they're long. And we have to remember there's people that have charges against him that either withdrew. I have people that have made police reports who have withdrawn it because they were afraid of brandamama and recourse. So there was no charges taken. And I have people that he harmed, but those are the people that are just reporting. And any sexual, I think he's a serial sexual offender. And we have people that reported, but for every one of those people that reported, there's got to be at least 3 or 2, or even just another person that didn't report, that is embarrassed, humiliated, don't understand, because putting GHB in somebody's drink and you forget, and you might have been drunk or on other drugs, and you think, my God, I think he raped me. I woke up with no clothes on, but I don't know. And I don't want to get in trouble, or I don't know what's going on. They might not have reported, but I think that the $100,000 was pennies for not picking up a phone. And what's disgusting is, however Jax got in that alley, she didn't do it herself. That he hid it. I mean, that's like, I know I did wrong, so I'm going to hide it. And that's crazy. And then to sit and live and work up above where there's a body is gross. I wouldn't have been able to sleep at night. But then again, I would never be in Brandon Mummon's position. So I guess I can't understand why. I just don't understand why, even when he showed back up to the office and Jax will say she was already dead, and he didn't know she was dead when when she left. Um, how can you not? How can you just discard somebody? They do have video of Branda Mama walking, going into the apartment, cleaning up or whatever, and taking a garbage bag to the dumpster. Um, and that's to just toss everything out. I just don't, my mind is blown. My mind is, why did the police not act faster? First week of May, well, they knew who Brandon was. Joe Roll turned over the tape the Monday after I reported her missing. So they knew who Brandon Mama was. I knew the guy that had picked, that she was last seen with or was in her apartment um, a couple weeks before, because somebody posted it to Jack's page and I automatically took it down. And why did they not move faster? I mean, they know they had to have ran his name and saw all the charges prior. He has attempted murder on a police officer because he tried to run him over. Every single arrest is resisting arrest. In resisting arrest,
Yeah,
you run the chance of killing a police officer. So why were they
yeah,
not so alarmed?
he's a very volatile, disgusting person, and he is now where he's meant to be. Unfortunately, it's not on the charges that he needs to be on, but in a lot of cases, due to lack of evidence and things like that, they can't get them charges. But I won't say that for this case. I will say, and I don't do this. I genuinely do not do this at all. But I will say that it seems to me like Denver police really didn't want to even get to the point where they're at now. Watching the town hall meetings, watching.
And that is Lakewood police. Let me correct you. That's Lakewood police. So it switched
Okay,
jurisdiction. I feel that Denver, I think that they didn't move quick enough. I think that they should have questioned Brandon Mama right away. I think the search warrant on Brandon Mama's house should have taken place quicker. But it's Lakewood police. I think Lakewood from the beginning expected me as Jack's mother to say, "Oh, my daughter's transgender," and was living a life of shame and gross, so on and so forth. But I don't never felt like that with Jax. She was a tax paying business owner who did advocacy, went to meetings to keep her sobriety. Um, Unfortunately, she also had a sex life and was on dating sites. Um, I can't excuse that.
well,
And actually,
that's
she
not
was 34. She had sex. I mean,
yeah.
that
She's
shouldn't kill
an adult,
you.
you know what I mean? She's an adult. So
She's an adult.
everybody out there who's an adult, I don't because I can't seem to find someone. But you know, it's just that's the how it is in the adult world.
Yeah.
And I think by what like the police, like everything that you've told me, where you said like what we've talked about privately, like it's almost like they're saying, "We'll look at this," and then you're supposed to then retaliate and say, like, "Oh yeah, I get what you're saying now." Do you know what I mean? It's as if
Yeah.
they're trying to give you a perspective of who your daughter was and things like that, and it's like, well, she's an adult. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Even if she was on drugs and things like that, she's an adult. Do you know what I'm saying? She didn't
Yeah.
deserve where she is now. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, somebody needs to be held accountable for that, and it doesn't seem like he is going to be held. He's going to be held accountable somewhat, but not what you know. Your Jax's community, should I say, the LGBT community, and your advocate have done an amazing job, blood, sweat, and tears, going into all these meetings, and I've seen them where they've commented on saying that they're going for you. You know what I mean? They're going because you can't be
Hmm.
there. They're going to attend. You know what I mean? And things like that. And
And
I think that
yeah,
they a lot of audits for what they've done. Just to get, I mean, as small as charges as it is, that they've put, look, you know what I mean, the last year and how long into getting you here. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. And if it wasn't
Uh,
for that community, if it wasn't for people that never even knew Jax, um, sticking up and speaking out, and talking about Jax and the case, this would have never happened. Lakewood police wanted it done and over right after they found her body in Lakewood. It was supposed to be over for them. Um,
yeah,
they were done. I think they didn't want a a dead person in their neighborhood. I mean, I honestly, how they came at me and how they came at Jax, they did nothing to take care of her body or her as a person. I think right automatically Lakewood police labeled her a crazy transgender, drug addicted, awful, horrible monster of a person that somehow deserved this. And because Brandon Mama is a white male, served in the military. This is the ultimate case of white privilege, where he has gotten off and gotten off and gotten off and gotten off. If Brandon Mama was black or Hispanic or homeless or all this other things, they would have pressed charges right away. They would have picked him up. If it would have been a black man, they would have picked him up as soon as they knew who he was, and they would have brought him in, and there would have been no kid gloves. And that makes me sick because I never thought um, that I would I never thought that this would happen. I never thought a person who did this kind of things, and it makes me sad for the judicial. And I will go back. What my brother said is, the judicial system is set up so not one person who is falsely accused or convicted of a crime that they didn't do. And that was very hurtful because I know everything about this case. At the very least, Brandon Mama um, did not pick up a phone when somebody was in distress. It's just like if he's watching a woman being hit by a man and he doesn't call the police, or if he sees a drunk driver driving and hitting somebody and doesn't call the police. It's disgusting. Um, so, but I would like people to look at it like, I wonder if it would have gone this way if Brandon Mama was black. And it doesn't matter if Brandon Mama's family has money or not. If Brandon Mama was black, he would have been sitting in jail from the very first moment, or Hispanic would have been sitting in jail from day one when they could finger him. Um, and that's crazy. That's crazy. Our world has gotten to that. Um, we so, and I think that if Jax had been my 20-year-old daughter, really struggles with, if something like this happens to me, is it women, or is it just that my sister was a transgender female? And would people search for me, and would Lakewood police dig up my whole past and all this? And also, she knows, she's the one that said, why didn't they do a drop test? They're saying these injuries. Why didn't she, if she jumped out that window, why hasn't she would have gone feet first? Why is there no broken bones there? Why is the decomposition not the same everywhere? And why did they not take back that air conditioning thing, metal thing that's bent, that the coroner said that she probably hit? But why didn't they take that back to the lab? Why? Why why are they doing this? And if it was me that encountered Branda Mama, um, would is this how this world works? Um, and it's not, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. It should be, the victims should be honored and respected. Um, and in my case, Jack's offenses to this world are not a death sentence, or should not be capital punishment. She should not,
Yeah.
she should still be here. And if he just would have picked up the phone, he wouldn't be in this place. I mean, that is such a simple ask. If he just reported, if everything he says is true, you're a disgusting human being that you worry about what's going to happen to you than a person dying in front of you, or when you abandon them. And the stupid story about Jax was throwing up, but so they are allowing her to throw up. The two people are watching her, but then they decide to leave because she wakes up. Now, is she awake when she's throwing up? She's throwing up in her sleep. What the world's going on? She wakes up and starts screaming for them to get out. But you make a point to say you turned her on her side. Well, if she's screaming to get out, you think she's going to let you come near her? I don't think so. And I know my daughter. If she's screaming for you to get out, you're not coming close to her. You're not getting close to her to turn her on. And if she's screaming, she's awake enough to not asphyxiate throwing up. So I can't make the story make sense to me in my head. I have Jax with two other brothers that I raised. So I can tell, like, that if you're fibbing, and Mr. Mama, you're fibbing. As a mother, you're fibbing. If I heard about this on the news and Jax wasn't involved and I had no idea what was going on, and I heard this story, right there I could say, well, that's wrong and that's wrong. And how did that happen? The other thing is the police's story. The police coming at me saying she used GHB and she had consensual sex. Well, anybody that knows anything knows that once you're under GHB, you can't give consent because you're intoxicated. You cannot give consent if you're under the influence. You cannot have sex with a very drunk person and say that they gave you consent. That's just not, and Lakewood police needs to realize that. What is consent? And Jax could have consented in front of a camera at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and at 10 o'clock at night or 10:30 or 11, could have said, you know what, I don't want to do this. And Brandon Mama could not have consensual sex. That would be rape. That's what makes it rape, if the person does not consent. So my independent oversight for Lakewood Police mainly is to educate yourselves. Chief Smith had it's against the law to dead name a transgender woman. And Chief Smith, instead of writing to the family, calling the family and saying, I apologize, I didn't realize this, I don't know that, he wrote a letter to the Lakewood City Council, like he has to apologize to the Lakewood City Council. I was like, why? Any professional would reach out to the people that you harmed, not to the Lakewood City Council. It took me 3 emails and him showing up at Lakewood City Council twice before he ever answered me. I feel bad for Lakewood and Lakewood people that live in that area, because that's you have people that are supposed to protect you that don't have even social grace, let alone professional grace. Because at any time, and with the Jeffco Corner, at any time, just, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. That would have been perfect for me. But they were so, I'm right, I'm so smart, I'm right. Just a common courtesy of saying, you know what, I'm sorry, I messed up. Or with the city coroner, who sat and argued with me day after day after day, all she would have had to say was, it wasn't supposed to go that way. We weren't supposed to call Brandy and ask about a neck injury. And I am sorry that it went that way. But instead, the conversations are totally different. So it's just professional grace and common sense. I was a floor supervisor in Las Vegas, and I learned so many years ago, who taught me that? I think it might have been Benny Binion, who was a big casino guy. All right, I think it was Felicia Robinson. Always leave yourself above discretion, and always listen when people have something to say. Which means, I'm sorry you feel that way. How can we fix it? And nobody said that. I didn't hear that one time. And that's what you do. And that's what you do with people with money. That's what you do when people don't have money, is you listen and you say, I am sorry. How can I fix that? Are you there?
Well, I think the best way to end this, because I think we got everything covered in that. I'm just thinking we're over the hour mark now, and I want to keep it so people that watch this, because they'll see
Okay.
like 2 hours, hours. Do you know what I mean? And they'll panic a
Yeah.
bit and think,
Well,
"Oh
I'm
my
ready too. And I can't believe my client hasn't woken up at this time.
yeah." So,
I thought we
the
would.
way I want to end, first of all, thank you to you for getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do this. Uh, because it's a nice break for me, because normally I'm the one staying up for the families and that. But yeah, we've been trying to do this for over a week now, and we keep missing each other. And I'm grateful for you for doing this. So thank you for getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, not only to tell your daughter's story, but to give us updates on things that we didn't know before, as well as now. Um, the updates, as in we've got someone, he's being charged, and things like that. Also, I'd like to thank the community that's been supporting you, the
Mhm.
advocate who's been supporting you as well, because they've done amazing. They filled the comment sections on the Facebook, which, guys, if you're not part of the Facebook, I recommend you join, because they're great people. The amount of support they've given you is unreal, and yeah, they deserve the recognition for that. Also, there's a guy, I won't say his name in case he says no, I don't want to do it. He's written a poem, and it's like one that you'd read out loud, like perform. And I wanted to, I've reached out to him, um, and it's about, the poem's about Jax, and from when she went missing and to when she was found, and the struggles that he went through with it. So, and I thought it was a pretty powerful one. So
Very
I
powerful.
want to make a video with it. If you are part of the community or part of the Facebook, and you have a picture of you and Jax, or an art piece that you've made of Jax, um, either I or Mum will make a post in the group, and just drop your art in the comments, and I will do my best at making a video. One for the young man who did the poem, so it's a bit more artistic for him, and also so we've got something on the channel that well, I think will represent Jax brilliantly.
And thank you, Frank. Thank you for taking this story and listening to me and asking questions when a lot of times people won't. The other thing is, very important date will be April 20th, and it will be live streamed. And you cannot join WebEx, but I will put um, it's it's another video that people can watch live streaming. Um,
Is that
it's
through the
all
courts? Is
that,
that
yeah,
through the
that's
court? Is
all
that what?
it will be. I'll make sure that Frank has it, and I'll also put it on Jack's Facebook page. So anybody who wants to follow this, I appreciate your support because they can see just how many people are streaming, that there's eyes on the court. Um, and that's, that's with city council also. They could see that people were tuning in from different places. And I think the most important thing is we don't forget Jax should still be here. But Frank, I do want to thank you. I really appreciate the time and letting me speak freely. Um,
Yeah, of
so
course.
thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm just an idiot with a computer, as I tell people. But yeah, so everybody, make sure you go over to the Facebook group, give it a click, give it a follow, and just read the people that have gone on there that are friends from Jackson. They just post memories. There's people that go on there and they give updates of things that are going on in the community where they brought Jacks up and things like that. It's quite a busy Facebook group, to be fair, or it was. I don't know about so much now, but like Cheri just said, she'll be posting things like the link on there, and that she will obviously pass it on to me as well. But beat me to it and get the link before me. All right then,
Yeah.
Cheri. Thank you for coming on, and again, thank you for getting up at 4 in the morning to do
Well,
this interview.
my pleasure. You guys have a nice day. Bye, Frank.
Thank you. Okay, bye.